Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Ready to get into it. Today we're going to be talking about something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Okay.
And it's a really big question.
Lay it on me.
Can we ditch cash? Like, completely.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And we've got some really interesting sources for this all over the world to try and tackle it, you know?
I love it already.
You know, before anyone jumps in with credit cards, that's a step in that direction.
Right.
But we want to go further.
Okay, I like it.
What would a world with no physical cash look like? For everyone, not just the folks with, you know, fancy credit cards.
I think what's really interesting about this question is that it's not just about, you know, how we pay for stuff.
Right.
It brings up all these other things too, you know?
Yeah.
Like power, like who has access?
Oh, totally.
And even our relationship with money itself, like it gets deep.
It really does.
Yeah.
And one of our sources jumped right into a big problem with cash.
Okay.
Counterfeiting.
Ah.
It's a huge issue. A cashless system could just, you know.
Just wipe it out.
Yeah. Like shut the door and all that mess.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. But
So,
what happens when the lights go out? Or the internet crashes? What about people who don't have the latest gadgets or just aren't comfortable with tech?
Oh, that's a good point.
Suddenly those old-fashioned bills and coins don't seem so bad.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Like I'm picturing myself in, I don't know, like rural Nepal.
Right.
And my phone's dead. No power.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I need to buy food.
Exactly.
Yeah, not ideal.
Not ideal at all. And our sources actually do a great job of showing both sides of this.
Okay, how so?
Well, they take us to China, for example, where mobile payments are everywhere.
I've heard about that.
It's wild. Like you can buy street food with a QR code.
Seriously?
Yeah. But then they also take us to parts of India and Africa where cash is still king, especially in places without a lot of, you know, internet or phone service.
So it's like two different worlds.
Almost, right?
We're here debating contactless, this and that.
Uh-huh.
And elsewhere, people are relying on systems that have worked for centuries.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows how complicated this whole issue is.
Totally. And that's what makes these global examples so interesting.
Okay, why?
Because we can see how things are playing out in real life.
I like that.
Like, take Sweden.
Okay.
They're practically cashless already.
Wow.
And their sources say it's led to less crime, faster transactions, even maybe lower prices for everyone.
Really? Lower prices?
Potentially. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
But then there's India, right? Where the government tried to push digital payments,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of small businesses push back
Oh, yeah.
because they need cash for their day-to-day.
It's true. It shows we can't just assume everyone's ready to jump into this digital future.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It all depends on the context, right?
Right. So what works in Sweden might not work in, like, a busy market in Mumbai.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so cool. It's not about finding one answer for everyone. It's about understanding the nuances, the trade-offs, what we might gain or lose with each path.
Okay, I'm with you. So let's get into some of those consequences then.
All right, let's do it.
One big one for me is convenience.
Oh, yeah.
And our sources are pretty clear that cashless systems win on that front.
For sure.
No more giant wallets fumbling for change or arguing over who owes what after dinner.
I hate that.
Plus, mobile payments are becoming more global, right?
Yeah.
So you could travel the world with just your phone.
Oh, imagine that sipping espresso in Rome,
Yes.
haggling for souvenirs in Morocco,
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
all with just a tap of your phone.
Amazing. But wait, our sources also make a good point about cash.
Okay, what's that?
It's got its own perks,
Hmm.
especially when technology fails us.
Oh, you're talking about...
Remember those early pandemic days?
Oh, yeah.
Digital payment systems went down in some countries, and suddenly cash was a lifeline.
That's so true.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize
What?
cash is like decentralized. It doesn't need servers or internet or even electricity.
Yeah.
It's like this tangible backup
Right.
in a world that's becoming more and more reliant on these invisible systems.
I like that tangible backup.
Good.
It's a good way to put it.
It just works.
It's simple.
Simple.
Reliable.
Old school.
Exactly.
But hey, maybe that's what we need sometimes, right?
Maybe you're right.
Old school isn't always a bad thing.
You know, it's funny. We're talking about this like it's some far-off future.
Yeah.
But I actually remember reading about a town in Sweden
Okay.
that went completely cashless a few years ago.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. And the people there seem pretty happy with it.
Interesting.
But I still wonder about the downsides.
Yeah. Well, that's where the security debate gets really interesting.
Oh, okay. I'm listening.
Because cashless systems they rely on some serious security measures.
Like, we're talking encryption algorithms that scramble your data,
Okay.
so hackers can't steal it, and biometric authentication.
What's that?
You know, your fingerprint or your face becomes the key.
Oh, wow. So like in the movies?
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's pretty high-tech stuff.
Okay. That does sound pretty secure. There's always a but.
Right. No system is perfect. We
Yeah.
hear about data breaches all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
What happens if someone hacks into, like, a major mobile payment platform?
Oh, that's a good point.
Our sources acknowledge that it's a risk.
Yeah.
They even highlight times when whole payment networks crashed.
Oh, wow.
People couldn't access their money at all.
That's scary.
It's a reminder that even the most advanced tech can fail.
Right. And that's where cash has that advantage, right?
Totally. It's
Yeah.
immune to those system-wide meltdowns.
So it's a trade-off then.
I think so.
More convenience and maybe better security with cashless. But the risk of everything just shutting down.
Yeah.
With cash, you've got that old school reliability.
Yeah.
But you're more vulnerable to like theft or losing your wallet.
That's it. It's all about weighing those pros and cons.
Exactly. And that brings us to another layer of this whole discussion.
Okay, what's up?
The economic impacts. Our sources suggest that digital payments could actually lower costs for businesses.
How so?
Less money spent on handling cash processing fees, all that,
Okay.
which could even lead to lower prices for us consumers.
Interesting.
They point to places like Singapore and Hong Kong. This is already happening.
I've heard that Singapore is, like, super efficient.
Apparently. But then what about the businesses that depend on cash?
Oh, yeah, good point.
Like street vendors, small shops, people who do odd jobs.
Right.
Wouldn't going cashless hurt them?
That's a really important question. And our sources talk about the possibility of economic exclusion.
Meaning what?
Meaning some people might get left behind in a cashless society.
Oh.
They point out that lots of small businesses, especially in developing countries, they rely on cash for immediate payment
Makes sense.
and to avoid those processing fees we talked about. And then there's the unbanked people who don't have bank accounts.
Right.
For them, cash is often their only option.
So going cashless could actually make the gap bigger
Potentially. Yeah.
between those who have access to all these digital tools and those who don't.
Exactly. It's something to think about for sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
Especially when we consider the impact on the whole world.
Absolutely. It's a global issue.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about the practical stuff.
Yeah.
Security, convenience, the economy.
Right.
But what about the less tangible stuff?
Ooh, like what?
Our sources mentioned data privacy,
Ah.
which seems like a big deal in a cashless world.
Definitely. Because every transaction leaves a digital footprint, right?
Exactly. Imagine every cup of coffee, every magazine subscription, even every donation,
Wow.
all recorded and potentially accessible to companies, governments, even hackers.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is. It makes you question who controls all that information.
And how it might be used.
Like, convenience is great, but at what cost?
You've hit the nail on the head.
But some of our sources say this increased transparency could be a good thing.
Really?
Yeah. They say it could help fight illegal activities,
Oh, I see.
like money laundering and tax evasion.
Okay.
So there's that side of it, too.
Right. It seems like every potential benefit
Yeah.
comes with a potential risk.
True. It's all about finding the right balance.
You know what?
What?
This whole deep dive,
Yeah.
it's really opened my eyes to how complex this cashless debate really is.
Me too. It's way more than just about technology.
Right?
It's about people, society's the future we're creating.
Absolutely. Well said. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
We need to go beyond just listing pros and cons
Yeah.
and really grapple with what a cashless future could mean for all of us.
I completely agree. So where do we go from here? What's the next step in this exploration?
Well, for starters, I think we should encourage our listeners to do their own research.
We've got some amazing resources in the show notes.
Awesome.
Articles from Forbes, the New York Times, the Financial Times.
Wow.
All different perspectives on the cashless debate.
That's great. And for a more fun and maybe less serious take on personal finance,
Yeah.
we always recommend the Micky channel.
Oh, they're great.
They're so good at explaining complicated stuff.
In a way that's actually entertaining.
Exactly. But beyond that, I think it's about staying informed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
asking questions, being aware of the choices we're making.
Both as individuals and as a society.
Right. Because the future of money is being written right now.
It really is.
And it's up to us to make sure it works for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The future of money shouldn't just be about technology taking over. It should be about what people need.
Right.
And making sure everyone has the tools to participate in the economy.
Absolutely. Whether they're comfortable with tech or not.
Exactly. Well said.
All right. So, as we've been talking about all this, I keep coming back to one simple question.
Okay, what's that?
How would a cashless society actually feel? Like, what happens to that emotional connection we have with money?
That's an interesting question.
Right. Our sources touched on the psychology of cash. That sense of control and tangibility you get from physically holding it.
I get that.
Like, think about all those rituals we have with cash. Getting a crisp bill and a birthday card.
Yeah.
Filling up your piggy bank.
Makes you feel rich.
It does.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine replicating those experiences in a digital world.
I think you're right.
And those rituals often have deep cultural roots, too.
Oh, for sure.
Like tipping at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Or giving red envelopes with cash during Lunar New Year.
Right. Those are about more than just the money itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about connection and shared values.
It's like cash is woven into the fabric of our society.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder, what happens to those traditions in a cashless world?
Do they disappear?
Or do they change into something new?
It's a good question.
It's like we're watching culture evolve in real time.
I think you're right. As digital payments become more common, we are seeing new rituals emerge.
Like what?
Sending money to a friend through an app.
Okay.
Splitting the bill with a tap of your phone.
Yeah. It's different, but it still serves that same purpose.
Exactly. We're finding new ways to be generous, to show gratitude, even just to be polite.
In this digital age.
Right.
So after this deep dive, where do you stand on the whole cashless question?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't think there's a simple yes or no answer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We've seen strong arguments on both sides. And honestly, I think the future will probably be a mix of both.
Okay.
Cash and cashless options living side by side.
I like that. A balanced approach.
Right. Acknowledging the strengths and weaknesses of each.
Exactly. I think the key is to make sure whatever path we choose, it leads to a financial system that's fair and inclusive for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. The future of money shouldn't just be about technology.
Right.
It should be about thoughtful choices.
Yeah.
About prioritizing human needs and making sure everyone has the tools they need to thrive.
Well said.
Thanks.
So on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
We've explored the practical, the economic, the ethical, even the emotional side of this debate.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And we hope this exploration has given you some new things to think about.
I hope so.
Remember, there's no one right answer here.
Nope.
The most important thing is to stay informed, to keep asking questions, and to be mindful of the choices we make.
Both as individuals and as a global community.
And if you're eager to learn more about this fascinating topic, don't forget to check out those resources we mentioned.
The articles from Forbes, the New York Times, the Financial Times.
And for a more fun, we highly recommend the Micky channel.
They're the best.
So as we sign off, we'll leave you with this question. What aspects of a cashless society excite you? And what makes you apprehensive?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.
Stay curious.
Hi, everyone.
See ya.